All right, so we're going to finish up that 5-8. We didn't get quite to it yesterday, so let's try to get it done today. We'll do 5-9 on Monday, even though I had a plan to do today, but we'll do that on Monday. All right, so let's do this. This is kind of like backwards of solving a quadratic equation, equation. What they're going to do is they don't call it the answer, but it's kind of like what it is, okay? They give you a number. I don't know what they call it. This solution. They call it the given solution, okay? Solution, answer, same thing. So they basically give you the solution, and what you have to do is come up with the problem. You hear me? All right, so they give you the answer, you come up with the question. That's kind of what they're asking you to do. So we're just going backwards, all right? But let me give you a couple of hints to it. So, let's do this. I'll just do the examples. I was thinking about doing one of the problems that you guys just went over and then working backwards, but I think these examples will be fine. So they only give you 2 examples. So this is technically in the book, it's example 4 and it's part A, right? And here's what they give you. The solution is x equals 2/3. And what I want to do, here's what it says to do. Write this down so you know what they're asking you to do. Write the standard form. Standard form, what's that? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to answer it. So find this as soon as I finish writing this. The standard form quadratic equation. All right, so we need to write our answer as a quadratic equation. Taking notes? It'd be nice if you weren't turned around, fooling around, and doing this. All right, given, or it says with, the given solutions. All right, so they're basically giving you the answer and you are coming up with the question. Okay, the standard form quadratic equation. What is the standard form quadratic equation? I wrote it down when we were going over the homework just a minute ago. It's ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. All right, so that's what we want to turn this into. We want to turn this into something that looks like this. You got it? All right, so where do we even start? Well, a couple ways you could do this. This is the way that they do it. You want to get something with the x, correct? And you want to get something added or subtracted, and you also want to have a squared. So how are we going to do that with just this number 2/3? Well, let's do this. Let's get rid of that 3. How would I get rid of this 3? I got x equals 2/3. Let's scooch it over because I need a little room to write. How would I get rid of that 3? If I want to get 3 by itself, not by itself, but if I just wanted to put it on the other side, what would I do? Divide? Is that what you said? Multiply, okay. You multiply by 3, agree? So what are we going to do over here? Multiply by 3, so that goes. Let's just write it out, 3x equals 2. Remember what we're trying to do. What's our goal? Our goal is to make it look like this. So there's my bx, okay, that's good. What can this be over here on the left-hand side? This could be the c, because again, I want everything equal to 0, don't I? You could do this a couple different ways, but this is the way the book does it, and that's the way I'm going to do it. So you could subtract a 2 from both sides. So, oops. So what do we have? We got 3x, what? Minus 2 equals what? 0. But this doesn't quite look like this, does it? Doesn't have any squareds in there. All right, this is just linear. All right, it's not squared. So I want it to look like a quadratic. So I need a square in there. How in the world am I going to get a square in there? Well, what am I going to do with that x? In order to get a square, I want to square it. That's right. I want to square it. But I can't just square the x. I got to square everything on the left-hand side. I also have to do what? Square the other side. But it kind of works out nice because I'm squaring a 0, and what's that? It's just a 0, okay? So I don't have to worry about that very much, do I? See what I'm doing? Okay, now let's do this. Can you do this in your head? Should be able to. We just talked about it. Remember, square this one, then you got a middle term as well. You got to figure out what that middle term is. Don't shake your head. Learn how to do it right now. So 3x, what's 3x squared? It's 9x squared. Okay, let's do the last one, then we'll do the middle one. It's negative 2 times negative 2, which is plus 4. What about the middle one? How do we find the middle one? It's 3x times negative 2, which is negative 6x, and then you do what to it? You double it. So what's that going to be? Negative 12x. And then that's equal to what? Now, does this look like, oops. Does that look like that? We're done. Okay, that was it. Yeah.
So say you're squaring the square root of negative 4. That is going to be equal to negative 4, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure. Is there a particular problem you're doing that? Is that one of the new ones or the old one? Okay. After I do this example, we'll take a look at that. Or at least I'll give you the answer and you can see if it's right or not. Yeah. You're right. I don't like that. Give me a pass. You know the deal. You do it every day. All right, here we go. Here's another one. Watch. Here's the answer. The answer, now this is a little crazier than this one. This is kind of simplified. This one right here is a little crazier. 5 plus or minus. Now they put the I right here. I'm just going to write it the way the book does it. Is that all right? Normally I'd probably put that I out here, but they put it here, so that's what I do. So this is what they give you. What are you trying to do? You're trying to take this and make it look like that. So you want an x in there, but you want something squared, you want an x, you want a constant, and you want it equal to 0. Correct? So what do you think we're going to do? Yeah, that's what I would do. I'd put the 5 on the other side. Everybody see that? Because you need something added or subtracted, right? And so that's probably the easiest thing to get rid of right now is the 5. So what's that going to give you? X minus 5 equals plus or minus 2I square root of 7. What do we do now? Well, first of all, you got a square root. Do you see any square roots up here? No. So I want to get rid of the square root. How do I get rid of a square root? Square it. So I can't just square that by itself. What do I have to do? I'm going to square this whole entire thing. Everybody see that? I mean, technically, I guess you could just square this and then square this. Let me see. What did I do? Yeah, I squared the whole thing. All right, so let's square the whole entire thing. Because that'll take care of our I as well, won't it? Because what's I squared? It's negative 1. So that gets rid of that square root, because technically that's a square root, isn't it? It's a square root of negative 1. So I got 2 square roots. So I want to square everything. So I got x minus 5 equals. Now check this out. Watch. Everybody watching? I'm squaring a positive and a negative. If I square a positive, what sign do I get? Positive. And if I square a negative, what sign do I get? So am I even going to use this plus or minus now? No, I'm not even going to use that anymore because I just squared it and they both became positive. All right, so I'm not going to have a positive version and a negative version. Now what do I do here? Square the 2. What's that? That's 4. Square the I. I could write down I squared and then do another step, but we're smart enough, right? We can figure that out. What happens when I square the I? It's negative 1. So where could I put that? Just put it in front of the 4, just like that. Yep. Okay, and then what am I going to do? Square the 7. Now, remember, these are all being multiplied, right? So I put times, and I square a square root of 7, which gives me a 7. Everybody good? See, I just squared everything. 4, negative 1, 7, right there. So x minus 5 equals, what's this? Negative 28. Again, I also want it equal to 0, so let's add this over here. So I get what? X plus 23, is that right? Equals 0. Now what do? Am I doing this right? I'm not doing this right. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't want to do that. Hold on. I was getting a little ahead of myself. Equals negative 28. Oh, right. Okay. So, watch this. Here's what we're going to do. Yeah, I was too quick on bringing this over. Remember what I want here. I want something squared, don't I? So what did I do over here when I got that 3x minus 2? I squared both sides, didn't I? All right, so it seems like, though, I could still... But it wouldn't work. If I added this and I squared it, there's no way I'm getting what the answer is. I'm not sure about that, but I'll go in the order that they do. So watch. I'm going to do this now. I'm going to take this and square it. What do I have to do over here? Take this and square it. Because I want it to look like I need an x squared in there. But I got to square the whole entire left side. If I square the whole right side, I have to square the whole entire left side. I can't just arbitrarily just square the x. Oh, you know what? You're absolutely right. I completely missed that. Thank you for that. Because I squared this side and I didn't do what? That's why when I did that other step and I erased it, that's why that wouldn't have worked. Because I completely forgot to do it on this step. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Everybody see that? Mia, I know you're talking math, but it's really disturbing, so I need you to pay attention. So look, I squared this side, but I forgot to do what? I forgot to square the other side, okay? And I should have done that. And that's where I came up with a little problem, all right? Chan, you writing all this down? If you're writing it down, it'll keep you awake, all right? There's enough to write down. You didn't do the last part because you were asleep when I did that part. So now, let's go ahead and square this. We can do this in our head now, right? We're getting used to this, aren't we? So it's going to be x squared. What's the middle term going to be? It's negative 5x, what? Times what? Times 2, which is negative 10x. And then the last one, negative 5 times negative 5, is positive, what? 25. And that equals, what did we say this was again? It's negative 28. Okay? I kind of erased the steps, but you probably already wrote down the steps. Sorry about that. I should have been checking my problem instead of just going off on a whim. We're almost done, right? Because we need this just equal to 0. So what do I do with that minus 28? I add a 28 to both sides, so look what I get. Shh. Geo. So add a 28, and that is 53. And that's a 0, and there we go. Sorry about the confusion on that one. That was my bad. And there you go. How do I know if I got that right or not? I could always do what? Not just check in the back of the book. Yeah, use quadratic formula, okay, and work it out. Let's just do that for fun. Is that all right? So let's see what we get. So it's negative b, which is what? 10 plus or minus square root of b squared, which is 100, right? 10 squared is 100, minus 4 times a, which is just 1, times c, which is 53, all right? And that's over 2a, or just 2, right? 2 times 1. So it's 10 plus or minus square root of 100 minus, what's that? 106, 212? Is that right? Anybody? Yeah. 106 double, then you double it again, it's 212. Over 2, 10 plus or minus, what's that? Negative 112, correct? 112, but you got an I, this is over 2. We got to break down the square root. So I don't know, what goes into 112? Well, 2 does, but does 4 go into 112? I don't know. I'm using a calculator. 112 divided by 4, yep, 28. I'll tell you what, let's do this. So 112. 112 is 4 times 28, but we can do some more, can't we? Watch. What's 28? 4 times what? 7. So what's 112? 4 times 4, which is 16, times 7. So it's 10 plus or minus, what is this? 4 square root of 7, right? Because I'm taking the square root of that. See what I just did? Okay, broke it down a couple times. So that gives me 4 squared is 7. Don't forget the I. And all this is over what? 2. So what do you get? 5 plus or minus 4. Sorry, not 4. What? That 2 divides into that 4 as well. Square root of 7. And that 2 canceled out with that one. I. And look, is that the same thing as what we started with? It is. So we did it right, didn't we? Do you have to check? No, you don't have to. I'm not making you. Okay, do you have to check? Question mark? No, you don't have to. But it was nice doing it one time, right? Just to see if it does really work. And it does work, okay? So this thing right here is the question, and that's the answer. But they gave you the answer first. You had to come up with what? The question, okay? Or the solution is what they use. They don't say the answer. They say solution. And that's what they're asking you to do. Now you see why I didn't have time yesterday to do it. All right, it would have taken a while. Okay. So now, what are we doing? 29 to 36, but this time you're doing all of them, not just the odds. Okay. So let me write this down first so we know. So it's a section, what is it? 5-8? B? Okay, and it's page 220. And you are doing 29 to 36. And you're doing all of them, okay? I'll even put that there, all. Everybody good? All right. And what are we doing? Number what? 35. I guess we can keep recording, unless I mess up. What if I mess it all up?
Well, you already did, so.
I already messed it up earlier. All right, well, keep track of me. Stay awake. Make sure I don't mess this up. Let's see. What do we got? B equals, what is it? 1/5 plus or minus square root of 3 over 2i. Square root of 3 over 2i. This time they put the I on the outside. Isn't that weird? All right, so yeah, I think so. So what do we do? Do you? This is 1/5 plus or minus. I subtract a 1/5. Well, you'd have to multiply everything by 5. You could do that. So you're going to have a 5 square root of 3 over 2. So technically you could do that. But you didn't. You probably didn't put the 5 there, did you?
He did, but it was on like a different step. I didn't understand what you did.
Okay. So you could multiply everything by 5, but you got to multiply everything by 5. Okay? Not just the 1/5. Or you could subtract a 1/5 from both sides. Right? What do you want to do? Multiply? Okay. So what do you get? 5b. So you multiply this side by 5 as well, right? Do it to both sides. So what's this going to be? It's going to be a 1 plus or minus. What's this going to be? 5 square root of 3 over 2. Okay. Now you subtract a 1. 5b minus 1. Got rid of that. Equals 5 square root of 3 over 2. Do we really need the plus or minus? Because we know what's going to happen next, right? What are we going to do with this? We're going to what? Square it. And, this is for me, we're going to do what to the left side? We're also going to square that. All right? Let's do the right side first. So if I square everything in here, I get a what? 25. Then this becomes a what? A 3. All right? So what's 25 times 3? 75 over what? 4, because you're squaring the 2 as well. You're squaring everything in there. Okay, let's do this one. What's 5b minus 1 quantity squared? It's 25b squared. Let's do the middle. 5b times negative 1 is negative 5b. Double it. Negative 10b. Double 5, it's 10. Plus 1. Okay, now we got to take this and move it over here. That's kind of ugly, isn't it? It's not that bad. Nope. So if I, watch this. Let's do this right now. So I'm going to subtract the 75 over 4. What do I want to make that 1? Make it a 4 over 4. Wouldn't that be a little bit easier? All right. So I'm going to subtract the 75 over 4. Do it to here. That becomes a 0. So now what do I get? I got 20. Yeah, where's the... No, there was no negative. Oh, the I. Oh, man. Yeah. See, told you guys got to keep me straight. Right, that's an I right there. That's a negative 75, so you're going to add a 75. Okay, good. That's why you got to keep me straight on this, all right? But that just shows you, I didn't do it on purpose, okay? But that just shows you I could very easily miss something like that. So it means you got to take extra precaution to make sure that you include everything down. And I was just going too fast. That was my mistake, okay? And I've made a million of them. So what do you get now? Oops. I'm not that smart. It was, but listen, it was a good lesson for you, a good visual lesson. I didn't do it on purpose, but it was a visual lesson to just make sure and double check and go slow, all right, to make sure that you don't forget those steps, because I've done that twice today, all right? And so here we go. What's that? 79 over 4? Equals 0. Somehow I don't think they leave it like that. Yeah. So what they do is you don't want this to be a fraction. Okay, that's C. They don't want any fraction here. So what you're going to do is get rid of that 4. So how do I get rid of that 4 in the bottom? I multiply everything by what? By 4. Now technically I multiply the right side by 4, but that doesn't really change anything. So what do I got now? I got 100 b squared minus 40b, what's that, plus 79, and that equals, oops, not over anything, just 79 equals 0. 0 times 4. And that's how you do it. See, I'm thinking a little bit. I did make a couple mistakes, all right? But I would be much more careful. I think if I was by myself, I think I'd be much more careful. Sometimes when I'm trying to teach something, I'm thinking ahead about what I want to do next and all that kind of stuff. So that's my excuse, okay? I mean, I knew what I was supposed to do. I just messed up. But it just goes to show that teachers easily can make mistakes, very simple mistakes, okay? It doesn't mean, like I had a kid in my last class, it was like finding the area of something, and he had 8 times 4, and what's 8 times 4? 32, but I think he put like 24 or something like that. Now, does he know what 8 times 4 is? Yeah, probably, okay? But have you ever done that before? Accidentally?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you might. Yeah, it happens a lot, okay? It happens a lot. So you just got to be careful, especially when you have that many steps. You got to be that much more careful. Okay. I do. I do. See, you're asking me something that I already do, right? Because on a quiz, if you make a little mistake, don't I give you partial credit? Yeah, every single time. So check that box. What about on the test? Okay, give you corrections, give you a second chance to make up for it. Now, you don't get full credit, but you get 60%. That's better on a quiz. I only give you 50% on a quiz. I give you 60% if you get it right on the test. So there's no quiz corrections because I already give you half credit. So anyway, what's the thing I got to say? No. What's the thing we talked about yesterday? Where I snap on them. What do you call it? What is it? Clocking your T. Yeah, I just clocked your T. There you go. That's on your video. I don't think I'd ever remember that one. Okay. So, yeah, I'm sure I'll be famous.